Hello, mighty warriors. This is Alicia, and today we are going to be talking about Judges. And we're going to be talking about Samson in the book of Judges. And God has really challenged me to look for the larger spiritual lesson when I am studying His Word. And so that is something that I want to share with you today, how God has allowed me to see the larger spiritual lesson in some of these stories, and how I want you guys I want to challenge you, like God has challenged me, to also look for those larger spiritual lessons when you're studying. So, in the book of Judges, we are looking at chapter 11, and this is actually chapter 13, where we are coming at the very bottom into a season where God is telling Samson's parents that they're going to have a child. And when we meet Samson, Samson is this larger than life character. He seems very foreboding and very just huge and just like a big teddy bear sometimes. But one of the things that I noticed as I was reading his story is that he always seemed to kind of be bumbling around. Like, he fell back on his strength. Like that was part of his core identity. Like he seemed to be very proud of his strength and very, as if everything could be solved by his powerful strength. And he would look past obvious, like glaring issues and glaring snares that were set before him and fall into these traps. And it was almost like he thought his physical strength could overcome all things. But what God showed me is that there was a miscalculation with Samson, because even though he was powerful and God would use him to defeat the Philistines, that he had ultimately a bigger issue, and that was he was weak to the flesh and the eyes, lust of the eyes and lust of the flesh. And he was allowing his weaknesses to control his decisions. And he was turning a blind eye to obvious snares, to obvious danger, to obvious plots of the enemy, because he could not see past the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh. And so, in the first story where he meets a woman who is not of Jewish heritage, and he knows better, right? He falls into a trap where, because of her beauty, he ignores the fact that she is part of a group of people who is his enemy, and that they ultimately use his attraction to her to exploit him and to, cause him harm. And he ignores this, and to the point where he gets mad that he loses her and he burns their fields. And then it happens again with Delilah. And this time, over and over again, this woman is nagging him, trying to find out his secrets. And in the scriptures, it talks about how these men are lying in wait around his home. They're basically just dwelling with him, monitoring him, and trying to get all of his secrets and all of his weaknesses. And God opened my eyes to show me that this is what the devil does. Just like this was physically happening to Samson, spiritually, the enemy does the same thing. We entertain our sins by the things that we watch, the things that we listen to. We allow the enemy to dwell with us and monitor our behavior, monitor our weaknesses. Because, what you're watching and what you're, listening to on the radio, what gives more insight into your weaknesses than that, right? And all the time, we get comfortable with these spirits living amongst us because we're entertaining them with the things that we listen to and the things that we watch, not knowing that they are plotting against you. They are plotting and waiting for the right moment to pounce. They are nagging your flesh until they can dangle that piece of bait in front of you, and you will snap on it like an animal and be taken down. Like Samson got taken down. Samson got worn out. His physical strength was no match for the persistence of the enemy. And it was no match for his own weaknesses, which were the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh. And God let me see that we are Samson. I am Samson. I thought he was dumb, but I do the same thing. I watch my favorite quote unquote, rom-coms, dating shows, and when I do that, I'm letting the enemy know what my weaknesses are. And you are too when you do those things. People think that what they listen to and what they watch and what they consume is just innocent, but it's not innocent. It's allowing the enemy in the spiritual realm to monitor you and watch you very, very closely until they know what your weakness is, and then they dangle that bait in front of you, and then they got you. In Samson's situation, his turning a blind eye to sexual sin and immorality, and in those times he wasn't supposed to be going around with women who weren't from Israel, eventually ended in his physical blindness. Turning a blind eye physically and spiritually led to his physical blindness. And so God has been challenging me to learn the larger lesson. And then, I was able to start looking at some of the other people in the Bible, like Jacob. How Jacob's larger lesson was about deception. And how his deceiving his brother, him engaging in deception, how painful that was for him to receive that later from his uncle Laban. Where he was tricked out of years of his life and deceived out of years of his life. And this man just would not let him go. He just wanted to and put him in bondage, chased after him when he tried to leave. I mean, this really had to bring home the pain of how his brother must have felt when he was deceived out of something that belonged to him. And of course, we know that Jacob learned that lesson, but he learned it the hard way. And then we also have the story of Esther and how that larger lesson is about how we are blessed not for ourselves, but to be a blessing to others. How the great beauty that Esther was given, the being a queen, all of the wonderful blessings had an enormous responsibility. And we often think that because people in the world have great gifts, that they're just, laying back on easy street. But in Esther's situation, she had a huge responsibility. With great gifts come great responsibility. And so I just want to challenge you to, look at these scriptures and look at the larger spiritual lesson. Because with Esther, she was blessed because she was to be a blessing to others. And we are blessed to be a blessing to others. When God opens my eyes, my spiritual eyes to these themes in the Bible and shows me, hey, you think Samson's dumb? Look what you do. You do the same thing. You entertain these spirits. You let them sit in your house and watch you and your weaknesses, and they are going to pounce on you. They're lying in wait. But you are being blessed with this information to be a blessing to others. And so that's what I'm doing. I am putting this information out there. I hope one person listens, 10,000. I don't know who's going to hear it. I don't do this because I want, some kind of, accolades. I do it because God has given it to me, and he has blessed me to be a blessing. And even if it's just to one person, I hope that it blesses you. So, until next time, I hope that when you are reading and studying the scriptures and all of the people in the Bible, that you look a little bit deeper at their stories and look at the deeper spiritual lesson. Because it's those spiritual lessons that kind of show us how we should be living our lives, and how, we judge some of these characters by their behavior. But God is showing us that we do the same thing. We just don't think that we do because we can't see ourselves in the story. But God opened my eyes and he said, you're in there. Your behavior is in there. So until next time, mighty warriors, be baptized, be blessed, and look for the larger spiritual lesson. Until next time, signing off.